Do you think Prince Harry should be on that list, on that protected list?
Yes. So there you go, that's cutting straight to the chase. And I'm not supposed to talk about these things. They did it because they didn't think he would leave. There are plenty of people on the list who don't have a threat and risk profile that would automatically guarantee them armed protection. He was certainly one that did.
I've just had an interesting chat with Neil Basu, Britain's former head of counterterrorism. We were discussing Prince Harry's security issues, the decision not to give him security. Neil Basu used to sit on RAVEC, which is the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, which makes the decision about whether or not Prince Harry should have security.
It would seem to me that the discretion that could have been used to protect him has been withdrawn. And if you ask me who withdrew it, I can't tell you that for sure because I don't know. But it seems like an odd decision to have made.
Do you have any? I appreciate that you don't know and you weren't sitting in the meetings on this in this particular case, but do you have any suspicions? Was the royal household leaning on? Prince Harry himself has said that he thinks the king, his father, could have pulled rank and made a decision and had enough influence over the committee that he could probably have swayed them either way. And you've somebody, an outsider looking in, when you know that his right-hand man, Sir Clive, is sitting on that committee, it feels like a relatively potentially relevant, likely scenario that Sir Clive could have said, yes, we believe, and my boss believes that his son should have security. But that's obviously not happened in this case. So who's leaning on who here, do you think? Who's influenced this decision?
This is pure speculation, so I was a detective of some standing, so I don't like speculating without evidence. So I don't have evidence for it, but the decision makers are all in that committee. So it will be somebody in the committee who decides. I was still a decision maker at the time that his protection was withdrawn. And as far as I'm aware, the commissioner of the day, Cressida Dick, me as the head of counterterrorism, we were not asked specifically to withdraw his protection, which only leaves the government and the royal household. And the fact is this: if the Metropolitan Police had been asked to protect the Duke of Sussex by either the head of state, whether it was the Queen at the time, or the future king, we would protect that person. There is nothing whatsoever that would have led us to say, no, I'm sorry, sir or ma'am, we're not doing that. So the reality being is the decision, and so I've been asked many times, you know, if I think the reality is the Duke of Sussex and the head of state, his father, would probably need to come to some arrangement between them, and I think that reconciliation would be the key to this problem.
Yes, folks, you heard that right. Just imagine, you're a prince, fifth in line to the throne, with a history of dodging real bullets in war zones, and now you're back in your home country for a charity event. But instead of feeling safe, you're dodging a stalker who slips past security not once but twice. Sounds like a thriller movie, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to Prince Harry during his latest UK visit, and it's got everyone buzzing, especially when a former bigwig in counterterrorism steps up to call out the madness. Enter Neil Basu, the guy who used to run the UK's counterterrorism operations like a boss. This isn't some random commentator. Basu was the head honcho, sitting on the elite committee that decides who gets top-tier protection. And he's not mincing words. In a recent chat that's making waves, Basu flat out says Prince Harry's threat level is very high. We're talking second only to the late Queen back in 2019. Fast forward to now, and Basu warns that the risks have only cranked up higher. Why? Harry's military past in Afghanistan, his outspoken stance on everything from mental health to media scrutiny, and that massive public spotlight that follows him everywhere. It's like wearing a target on your back, and Basu thinks it's nuts that Harry's not getting the full armed protection he deserves. Let's rewind a bit to set the scene. Harry and his wife, Meghan Sussex, packed up and left the royal grind in 2020, heading to California for a fresh start with their kids, Archie and Lilibet. But that move came with a gut punch. The UK yanked his automatic police protection. No more round-the-clock bodyguards funded by taxpayers. Instead, it's this patchy, case-by-case setup, decided by a shadowy group called RAVEC, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee. Harry fought it tooth and nail in court, arguing his family's safety was on the line, but he lost big time earlier this year. In a raw BBC interview back in May, he didn't hold back, saying the denial felt like institutional bias, tangled up in family drama. Ouch. Now, fast forward to September 2025, and Harry's back in the UK for the Well Child Awards. You know, that heartwarming event honouring seriously ill kids and their caregivers. Harry's been a patron for years, showing up to shine a light on these unsung heroes. But this trip? It turned into a security fiasco. Reports reveal a known stalker, a woman with a track record of fixation and possible mental health struggles, got way too close. Twice. First at the awards on September 9th, then again 2 days later at an event tied to the Centre for Blast Injury Studies. She's on a watch list for crying out loud. Harry's team even knew she'd tailed him to Nigeria before. But without that full police shield, it was up to his private staff to spot her and literally body-block her approach. One source called it pure luck that nothing worse happened, adding that relying on chance like this is a recipe for disaster. Can you imagine? A prince in a supposedly secure hotel zone, and then even in the bathroom, facing off against someone who could be unpredictable, or worse, armed. Basu, who's seen it all from his days battling real threats, isn't buying the current setup. He calls the 2020 decision to strip Harry's protection an odd move, especially given the guy's profile. He's fifth in line to the throne, Basu points out. Do we really want anything to happen to him or his family? It's a fair question that hits hard. Basu sat on Ravek himself, so he knows the ins and outs. He argues that discretion could, and should, be used to keep Harry safe, but it's been pulled away like a rug from under his feet. And get this. Basu hints that if King Charles just picked up the phone and asked the cops to step in, they'd do it in a heartbeat. No questions asked. The fact is this, Basu says, if the Metropolitan Police had been asked to protect the Duke of Sussex by either the head of state, whether it was the Queen at the time or the future king, we would protect that person. There is nothing whatsoever that would have led us to say, no, I'm sorry sir or ma'am, we're not doing that. But here's where it gets juicy, and a tad infuriating. Basu ties it all back to that infamous family rift. He reckons mending fences with his dad could be the golden ticket to sorting this mess. I think that reconciliation would be the key to this problem, he says. It's like, come on guys, put the egos aside for a minute. Harry himself has said he never asked Charles to meddle directly, he just wanted the experts to handle it without palace roadblocks. Yet, court docs show royal staffers might have had a hand in influencing things, even if the big bosses stayed constitutionally neutral. Basu nods to that, noting that folks acting on behalf of the royal machine could sway decisions without the king or queen getting their hands dirty. This isn't just about Harry though. Think about those grandkids. Archie, who's just turned 6, and little Lilibet, barely 4. They're innocent kids, caught in the crossfire of adult drama. Charles, as a grandfather, should be all about keeping them safe, right? But by letting this security standoff drag on, it's like dangling a question mark over their heads every time they might visit the UK. Harry's made it clear. Without proper protection, he doesn't feel safe bringing the family over. And who can blame him? The threats aren't hypothetical. From racist trolls online to real-world stalkers slipping through cracks, the dangers are piling up. Basu's warning amps it up. Harry's risk hasn't dipped, it's spiked. Military service? Check. High-profile feuds with the press? Double check. Being a vocal advocate for change? That's like painting a bullseye. So, why the radio silence from the palace? It's like Basu's words are bouncing off invisible walls. We've heard this tune before. Experts sounding alarms, Harry pleading his case, and yet the status quo chugs along. Is it pride, politics, or just that old-school royal stubbornness where egos get pampered while real lives hang in the balance? Basu calls the current ad hoc protection quite brutal, assuming Harry wouldn't bail on the UK without it. But he did, and now we're here, with incidents like this stalker scare proving the point. One security insider put it bluntly, depending on luck isn't a plan, it's a gamble. And for a family that's already weathered storms of scrutiny, that's no way to live. Look, this whole saga screams for a reality check. Basu isn't some outsider stirring the pot. He's the expert who knows threats inside out. His call for Harry to be on the protected list isn't radical. It's common sense. Full armed protection isn't a luxury. For someone with Harry's baggage, it's a necessity. And tying it to family reconciliation? Sure, healing wounds would be great, but safety shouldn't be a bargaining chip. Charles, as king, has the pull to make this right. Ignoring Basu feels like turning a blind eye to the obvious, and potentially endangering not just Harry, but those wide-eyed grandkids who deserve better than being pawns in a power play. In the end, this isn't about titles or tabloid fodder. It's about human lives in a world that's gotten scarier. Harry's visit was meant to celebrate bravery in kids facing illness, but it ended up highlighting his own vulnerabilities. Basu's voice adds weight to the chorus. Time to listen up, monarchy, before luck runs out and regret sets in. Because if something happens, the what-ifs will haunt everyone. Let's hope cooler heads and safer measures prevail soon.